gonna be ended up with something like a menu system. So let me try to draw what we want to do. So we're gonna create together an app as you're supposed to be creating for your semester project. But this app is not about methodology, it's just to get you starting for creating an app. So let's look at this as your phone. What I want to teach you is how to make an app with a top menu. You could also make a bottom menu if you want that. And the top menu should have 3 buttons. I'm very bad at drawing with the mouse. 3 buttons, and each button should switch the screen to a different panel. So one where you see my restaurant menu, one button where you can do some basic math, and one button where you can watch a video. Today we're gonna only do the stuff that don't require any coding at all for you guys to get familiarized with Unity UI system and Unity interface in general, for those of you who fell behind last time. So what we're gonna do is first we're gonna open Unity Hub, which you have installed and downloaded hopefully. Then I hope that you have a Unity version installed. If you go here onto install, you can see the latest Unity you have installed on your computer. And this is what the version it is I have installed. And as long as you get a LTS version, then you know you're good for a while, because Unity keeps releasing newer and newer generations or versions of the program, and you don't need to keep updating. I mean, I personally think it's annoying to download all of them because they feel a lot and I have to delete the old one and so on. So just download the LTS version and you're good for a while. Otherwise, you can just go in and install the editor. And I can see I'm a little bit behind and should maybe download this, but for this video, it should be possible to explain everything to you with this version of Unity. So, and then each time, this is the installs. Unity has some like learning material for beginning for 3D games. I really recommend you guys to look at this tutorial and do them yourself also. And there are some resources that you don't need to get into. Right now, we're just gonna do our own new Unity project. So we press here, and we press here, and then we were making an app, mobile app. So it's gonna be a Universal 2D application. So we're gonna press this button here, Universal 2D. And I'm gonna call the name Unity UI. I'm gonna call it, and I'm not gonna use version control or anything. And my organization is this. So I'm gonna just make it in my own organization, and I'm just gonna press create the project. And this is our working environment, all of this, as you see. In general, you have several windows. The most important one is this one, because here you have your game. So Animator we're not gonna use today. We're gonna get back to that later. So I'm gonna right click on that and close tab. So Animator will be gone. Boom. So now I only have the scene and the game. The game view is, make sure that you are zoomed all the way out of it. The game view is how you will see your game, how your game will look like for the final user when you play the play button. You press the play button. The scene view is a place where you can put everything all around without them necessarily being seen by your player while they play the game. Some of the items you may place out here, outside of their viewing angle, but then you can enter them in the scene later, for instance, if you want that. But right now, this is what your user is gonna see. And as you can see here, I have changed it to a mobile aspect ratio. So you do that if you don't have it already. You do that by pressing plus here, and then you choose the X and Y axis. So I press 1080 times 920 here. And then you can call it my old phone, because this is actually a low resolution for a phone, but whatever. You guys are gonna make an app that's gonna often run on your computer. So it's cool with that resolution, but you can play around with it and put whatever resolution you want. Press OK, boom, my old phone is here. This is the screen. We don't have anything. So this is the scene, this is the game view. And then here you can like, I will get back to this in a while. This here, this is your hierarchy view. As you can see, in the hierarchy, everything you have in your scene, sometimes you're not able to see them in the scene, but they are all gonna be here. In a bit, we're gonna have lots of stuff here, so you can get to see. So because it's much easier to have a list instead of finding them here, so it's often nice to have them here. And then once you press them, you can see detailed information about them over here in your inspector. So if I press these different things, each of them will give me their information here on this side. As you can see, like for instance, their transform information, so their position, their rotation, the scale, and so on. And since I have pressed the camera, I get some camera like render type, projection, and all of that. These are things that I'm not going to get into in this video, perhaps in a future video, but there are also lots of nice documentation online. And you can also hold this down and then press the question mark, and then you will go inside Unity documentation where you'll be able to read more about this stuff. So if you press the question on anything, like for instance rendering, what does this drop down menu? Then you press this question mark, boom, you jump into what rendering means and what the different, if you select different things, what do they mean? If you want to play around with that. Right now we're not going to, for today, I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. We have a camera, that's cool, we are not going to touch anything. So here is our hierarchy with everything we have in our scene as a list. We can press them and then we can play around with in the inspector with their properties. And here is our scene where we can, see it as a theater. You can see everything that's going to happen in your scene. And this is the game. So this is what your user is going to see in the end. Okay? And down here you have the project. In the project, you have all the folders of your project. Since we choose a 2D project, Unity gave us lots of extra folders that we are not going to need for this, but it's cool. And then you have your scene. Unity automatically put it in a folder here, sample scene, which is cool. And then the rest you don't need to mind about right now, okay? Here is the console. The console is if you have an error, a bug, if you write some code and something is written wrong, the error message will come inside the console here. I will get back to that later. Also, we will get back to animations later. So once again, I'm going to close this animation tab here. Boom. There we go. Okay, so what we talked about is that we're going to make something like this. So 3 panels. And then to begin with, I want one of the panels to be my restaurant menu. So I want each panel to be like a picture of the food, their name, and their price. Picture of the food, their name, and the price. Does it make sense? So I want to make sub panels. So each panel is like one food item, and then I want them to be placed in a grid automatically. So this is what we want: a top menu and then lots of food menus. And I am so bad at drawing this. Holy shit! I hope you get the message here. Okay, let's try to make that. First, we're gonna make a, sorry, I got an email. First, we're gonna make a canvas. So see canvases as where you will be the artist of. As you remember during the slides, I showed you this. Unity includes canvases like this. And canvas is like your real canvas. That's where you draw. That's where you put all your art. In Unity, see canvas, especially the ones we're gonna work with, they're gonna cover your whole screen, your whole workspace. And it's in there that we're gonna create UI elements to create our vision, okay? So we're gonna first create a canvas in Unity. You do that by coming here to your hierarchy, because each time I want to put something new here, I can do that by coming here in the hierarchy, right click, and then here I can create all kind of stuff, as you can see. You can create 2D objects, 3D objects, effects, and so on. But what we're gonna play with today are UIs here. And there is the canvas. And we want to put a canvas in there. So I'm gonna press the canvas button. Boom. Canvas button has been pressed. And you see this is gonna fill out the whole screen. This beautiful canvas here. And in this canvas, we're gonna have some panels. Let's have, for instance, a top menu panel. That will be our top menu. What are panels? Well, canvas, if you see it as your working area that fills the whole screen, you can place individual panels on the screen with interactive elements that you want to be, for instance, grouped together. Like this. I'm sorry to all the Tottenham fans watching this, but what do we think of Tottenham? Yes, exactly. So this is the power of the panels. They can be used to group UI elements such as button, images, and text together. And that's exactly what we want to do with our top menu. So in the canvas, I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to UI and I'm going to create a top menu panel. So I pressed panel. I hope you saw that. Otherwise, return in the video and do it again. Okay. So here I'm going to write top menu. Then press enter. So because I renamed it to top menu, and now this is my top menu and it has this color. See, because I pressed it here in the hierarchy, I can in the inspector play around with it. What can I play with? I can play like, oh, it's distance from left to right. It should have 25 distance, no, maybe more, 200 distance from the left. Ooh, nice. Or from top, it should have 200 distance. Ooh, nice. But we don't want that. We want it to have lots of distance from bottom. What is our game resolution? It's 1920. Yeah, so but we want it to be stretched all the way to the top of the screen. So I press here because this thing is good at stretching and moving things as exactly like you want it to. So I'm gonna say, and then if I press this, and then I press my option button on the keyboard, and then PC it's a alt button, and I'm gonna do like this, boom. I said I want it stretched, and then I want it to be on top. Stretch on top. That's what I want. So I press that, and it tries to stretch it and put it on top. So I press it here again. But because its height is too low, it's very high, so it cannot. I said I want this panel to maximum be 200 high. And I want its position to go to 0. Boom. But then it goes a little bit above there, the screen, so it doesn't look very nice, as you see. So we have to tell it again, hey man, I want it stretched to top. So I come here once again, press the option or alt button, and I tell it again, stretch it to top like this. And then it does it automatically, okay? So you should consider doing that. I could also have done it by set -100 because it came a little bit, I said to top, then it's 200 in width. Its pivot point in the middle, which it shouldn't be, it should be in top, but we're not gonna play more with that. This is how you make the top panel here, top menu here. It got this beautiful boring color. I guess it's cool, but you can change the boringness here to whatever color you want. Like this is the color wheel here. You can turn around and change the RGB colors down here also, if you want that. Like this. Cool. We're gonna keep it into this beautiful pukey looking color. So this is our top menu. Cool. Awesome. And then we're gonna have, as we talked about in my beautiful drawing, we're gonna have 3 buttons up here that each take us to a different panel down here. So let's first create the 3 panels we're going to work with here. And those 3 panels, I mean, maybe in this video we shouldn't. We're gonna focus on just this panel because later we're gonna make those other panels interactive. So let's just create our, our food panel, like so my restaurants panel. And then we're gonna create the 3 buttons up here and make sure the layout is looking nice. So this video is gonna be all about layouting. So I'm gonna right click canvas. I'm gonna go to UI because now we want to create a new panel for the foodie stuff. I'm gonna make a new panel. So I press panel, boom. Now I have a new panel and I want it to be food panel. This is where we're gonna have our menu. As you can see, let's change its color to, I don't know, blue. As you can see, it fills the whole screen. By the way, you can also like change the sizes if you want just by dragging like this, and then boom, it looks exactly like we want it to. So it can, you know, have 200 space because it also snatches to it's like this. It's beautiful. You can also do like this and like that. But I would prefer if you just told it, you could also tell it here. So 200 distance to the top, because then it will go down. You remember our menu was 200 height. So it will do exactly that, which is perfect. Cool. This is our food panel now. and this is our menu button. So now what we want here is to, as you could see, if I go back to that beautiful drawing, 3 buttons up here and then lots of mini food panels down here. Let's start with the simplest thing. Putting 3 buttons up in our top menu is something that we're going to use in the other things we're going to do also. So I press the top menu because now I want to put buttons in it. I'm going to right click it. I'm going to go down to UI and I want a button inside of it. So I'm going to press the button. Boom. And it made the, because it was a TextMesh Pro button, it asked me if I want to import the TextMesh Pro Essentials. And you say yes to that, you want the TextMesh Pro Essentials. And I want the TextMesh Pro examples and extras. You should do that for all the project because you never know what you're gonna need. So make that a habit, I would say. Perfect. So now we have a button in here. I'm gonna zoom in. See, there's a tiny, tiny button here. And in your game, there's a tiny, tiny button here. And how actually now already you can interact with this button. So if I press play, this is where you can test your games all the time. You press play, you can test your game. You see, we have a button, I press it, it changed color. Let me zoom in a little bit. Whoa. I'm gonna zoom in like this. See, I press, and it presses the button, but it's very, very tiny. So we're gonna play around. And remember always, when you're in play mode, don't change anything, because if you change anything, it will not get saved. Now we have our beautiful button. We want it to be the food button. So this one takes us to the food place. And then we want to change its text to say food, okay? How do we change this text? Why do I click it? It cannot be changed. I cannot change it like this. No. What you need to do, so now I double click so it opened. You can either double click here, and then it will open itself in the hierarchy, but that's not the right way to learn how to do this. So what you do is when you create the food button, you see it's here. Everything has children here. So if you open his children here, in the food button himself, you cannot change what's written in the text. You can change like the button's colors, for instance, on highlighted color, pressed color, all of that. Highlighted color is when it's hovered over it. Pressed is when it's pressed, what it should do. Selected is what it should do once it's selected, and so on. Let's change a little bit. So we're gonna make highlight looking red, right? Pressed. So once you press it, it goes blue. Let's look at this weirdness. Boom. Gonna zoom in. Oh, see, it's highlighted. It goes red. Highlighted goes red. I press it, it goes blue. I press it, it goes blue. So that's how it works. I'm gonna stop this madness now. This is not a nice looking button, but now we have a button. And it's a food button. But remember we talked about we need 3 buttons. So what I do here is I press this and then I press duplicate. What you can do is also press this button and D under your keyboard, and it will do it automatically, or Control D on the Windows, and it will duplicate it for you. Boom, it duplicated. Now I'm gonna press Control D or Command D. Boom, it duplicated again. But they're all called food buttons, and I don't want them to be called food buttons, because no, one of them was gonna be for our math panel. It would take us to the math panel, and one of them was gonna take us into the video panel. Okay? But hey, I only see one button here, but it's because you duplicate it and they all go on top of each other like this. So if you can, but that's where I get to this, actually, these guys over here. This is for you to move shit around. So you press this and then these 2 arrows come up. If it's in 3D game, 3 arrows would come up. And then you can take this and then move it around like this, or take the other one and move it up and down. Isn't that awesome? And the same here. And also you have one here. This is for rotation, so you can grab this and rotate your buttons if you want that. I'm gonna Control Z that because I don't want that. This is for scaling, so if you press this, you can gonna scale it up and down like that. I'm gonna Control Z because I don't want that. With this you can do basically anything. Again, I'm gonna Control Z. But yeah, this you can play around with yourself. Now we have 3 buttons. Oh, the text only say button still. That's not cool. By the way, if you have a mouse, you want to move around on this scene, you press the middle of the mouse and then you hold it down and you move around, and it's like you grab your screen and move it around, which is just a hint. But you can look up all the shortcuts of Unity yourself for your specific computer and so on. So we want to change the text here. Food button, I open it, I go to text and I say food, because this should take me to food. And oh, the name changed there. And the same with the math button. I'm gonna open it and in there's text, find this TextMesh Pro and write math. And finally, I'm gonna do the same with the video. Boom. Cool. Now we have 3 and the layout looks like, yeah, you know what I was gonna say. So let's give it a nice layout. And luckily, Unity UI gives us some powerful tools to create layouts without ourselves having to make sure everything is pixel perfect placed. It will try to make it pixel perfect for you. And how do you do that? You talk to their parents and tell the parents, please organize your children, please. And it will do that. So you press the top menu, and in order to ask the top menu to organize its children, which is food button, math button. So I say children because if I close it, they're gone. They're all children of their parents' top menu. If I open it, they're all within top menu. So I tell top menu, everything that is within you, please organize that shit. So I'm gonna say, please do a vertical. And how do I say that? So you see everything in the inspector has some properties, some components. It has an image component, which is got this background image, and it got a transform component, which it got this position and scale and stuff. But now we're gonna add a new component to it. And that one I'm gonna call vertical layout group. It's a component Unity already made for us. And it's beautiful. So it will lay out everything for you in a group vertically. Boom. Oh shit, sorry. Not vertically. So it did exactly what I asked it to vertically, but I mixed around vertical and horizontal. Remove component. Please do a horizontal layout group. My bad. Boom. See? I told it to horizontally lay out its children and it did it right away. Which is beautiful. Now my espresso machine is cleaning itself. I hope you cannot hear it. It's a bit loud. So horizontal layout group, boom, it horizontally layouted the children, but it looks weird, right? Everything is top left. We don't want everything to be top left. Child alignment. Align your children in the center, upper center. That's cool with me. Or middle center, whatever. Boom. Look how beautifully it aligned them in the middle center here. But then it should not have so much distance to the side. I would say 10 to the left, 10 to the right, or maybe 20, 20, 20, and 20 to the bottom, which is basically center. There should also be 20 distance between them. You can play around with it. And also they are too small. So I want it to also control its children's size. Press width and height. Boom, look at this beautiful thing here. So now we have 3 nice UI buttons here. I press play and it's actually viewable here. So, right? Beautiful. This is our top menu with 3 buttons. But wait a second, the text is very, very tiny. Why is that? Because we didn't change the font, it just changed the UI of the buttons. So what we can do is to go to the text and tell it, sometimes this works, auto size. Sometimes it doesn't, it just told it 0. Let's put it 70 like this. That is okay, I don't know, 74? But you can play around with it yourself. I'm gonna make them all 74. And I'm gonna do this one also 74. Boom. There we go. So now we have the menu with 3 buttons. If you go to game, this is how our game gonna look like. You can also press play just to press the button, but nothing will happen. Now we want to create our food items in the bottom there. So I'm done with the top menu. Now we want to play around with the panel menu. Oh, with the food panel menu. So we're going to have some food items down here. Actually, I don't really like its color. It's a bit too rare. Gonna make it a little bit boring and whitey. Not that white is boring, but you know what I mean. And I'm gonna create an instance of a food panel. So each of my food, again, we go back to this drawing here. I want each food to have its own panel with an image and a name and a price. Because as you remember, in the panels, you can put everything, like images, text, buttons, and so on. So we're gonna right click to create a new panel, UI panel, boom. This is our food item here. And we want it to like start to stretch the whole screen. Actually, no, start to align in the center and middle like this. So I pressed the Option Alt button. I just pressed, so to set this position to be exactly in the center so we can work for it with it, I'm gonna press Option and Center here. Okay. Now we can play with this width and height. I want it to be 200, 200, or we can say 250, 250. Let's see, we got 600, 250, 250, 750, and our width. So we're gonna have a little bit more width left on the, if you go with 250, then we're gonna be 750. So it's not gonna be totally crammed if you put three next to each other. We're gonna change this background a little bit to be a little bit different. So they're gonna be yellow, I guess, no? Now let's be a little bit more dramatic and beautiful. We're gonna go with something purpley, like this. So this is gonna be a food panel here. We got 250, 250, and so on. But as you can see, it doesn't have anything. A tip, if you want to like zoom into the game object in the scene, and you can see it here, but you don't see it here. Let's say we have accidentally somehow ended up leaving our scene. Like we are here. We're like, holy shit, where's my food item? You press the food item, and then on your keyboard, you press F. Woof! You see, it zoomed all the way on the item you have selected here once you press F for focus. Because now we want to give it an image for the food picture. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna press image. Boom! That's gonna be food image. Now I need that. But then I also want a text in it. So we're gonna go UI, Text Mesh Pro text, food name. And I want to also give it a food price. So I'm gonna put another text, food price. See that? Now I've got the image, name, and price. So what I am going to do is to make their parents, because the food item panel now has its children, the image, the name, and the price, but they are not organized. So I'm gonna once again go to the parents and say, organize thy children. I'm gonna say, do it vertically, layout group. Boom. See, it organized them beautifully, vertically like that. And upper left again, no, we want it to be beautifully in the middle once again. Let's try middle center. See, it's now in middle center and it looks super nice. The text, as you see, it's on the left, but if you press this text boxes, you see they are perfectly on the middle. But it's just because if you go to the actual text of the text, you see, it's like Office, Word, and so on. Where do you want alignment of your text? You want it in the middle so that it looks better. And you want this in the middle so it looks better. Okay, so see, now we have our food item here. If you remember, I uploaded those pictures of food items to Moodle. You guys are also very welcome to download it again if you don't have it already. But I'm gonna just make a folder here. So I right clicked and I pressed folder. I'm gonna show it again slowly. Right click, folder. I call the folder images. I right clicked, I placed create folder, and because it was a zip file and I had to unpack it, so I unpacked it and I placed it here in the food subfolder. So now I have some images. I'm just gonna give it a placeholder image. So if I press the food image here, you see there's a source image here. Here you can do two things. Either you can, from here, just drag one of the food items here, and then you get it, as you can see. And then we can change this one's name to burger and its price to 10. Okay? Now we have a food item burger 10. But then I want to create a different food item. So what did I do is I just duplicate it. So Control D or this button D, it's called Command D, or just right click and press duplicate because I want to put another food in here. And oh, you see it's right on top of each other and it's exactly the same thing. So I'm gonna just move it like this to the side. This one I'm gonna call burger, but this one we're gonna call kebab. I'm gonna open it, food image. Now instead of just dragging it from here, you can also, another way to do it is to press this little dot here and then you get the list of all the images you have in your project. Then I'm gonna choose the kebab picture, beautifully. And then the name, I'm gonna call it kebab. And the price is gonna be 200. Okay, so now we have it here. It looks okay, but we want once again everything to be beautifully organized. Who do we tell it to organize this stuff? We tell it to the parents, the food panel here. And this time we want it organized, if you remember the beautiful picture, we want it organized in grid like this. So like grid layout here. So I'm gonna now press the food panel. I'm gonna go to add component and then I'm gonna press right grid layout. See, and then it shows up for me. Then we're gonna use this beautiful Unity component called grid layout system. You press it. Whoa, it has beautifully placed them up here, but it also made them smaller than shit. You don't want that because it made the cell size 100 to 100. That's very little. Remember we gave it the size 250, 250. So we're gonna give it also 250, 250. So every cell in our grid is gonna be on x-axis 250, and on x-axis is down here, and on the y-axis 250. All right. We want some spacing, 10, 10. So it goes then some spacing. You see that? If I set the spacing 100, you see it goes much farther away. 10 again is up to you, but also it's like right up left. And we don't want the child alignment again to be up left. We want it to be upper center because we don't want it to go all center. We want just the menu to start from up this time. So boom, see, it beautifully placed them in the upper center now. With distance on the sides, you can play around with padding also. So I wanted to have padding 10, 10, 10, 10 to everywhere. And then I just want to have so much kebab in here in this menu. I'm gonna Control D on this just for you to see this grid getting filled. Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D. And you see it beautifully popularizes our menu. And then you can play around with these items here as you please. And you have a beautiful game on your hand now. Or not a game, just a menu where nothing is happening. But this was just to get you started with Unity and introducing you to Unity UI system. So this is what we're gonna end up with this at this video, a menu system with different panels where you can press around your, so this is gonna be our food panel. In the next video, we're gonna work with the rest of it.